All right, welcome to Important Message to the Public. We have a little roundtable here of investigators, and we are in the process of sharing some extremely important information that everyone really needs to know to be able to put a lot of these little issues together. So, what I want to start out with is a letter we got from ISO, which is the standards organizations, International Standardization Organization. And they're the ones that handle all of the codes, like the country codes and the currency codes and everything else. And the Bank of North America wrote a letter to them asking that the continental dollar is added to the country code. And we didn't really expect anything. We didn't expect to actually get one, but got an interesting letter back, so we wanted to share that with you. And on this particular broadcast, you're going to be seeing a lot of connecting the dots here, and it goes, everything goes around in a circle. So just be patient with us, and we'll get all the information out for you that you need. Um, what you got is we got this is thank you for your inquiry. This was the email that we got back from ISO. It says the Secretariat of the ISO 4217 Maintenance Agency is responsible for maintaining the currency code lists assigned to countries. Applications for currency codes may be submitted only from monetary authorities. It says according to the ISO 4217 standard, the definition for monetary authority is the following: an authority that has the monetary sovereignty to exercise legal control over the currency of a country or countries that is entitled to determine the currency unit and denominations. It says in most instances, the monetary authority is the central bank of the respective country. Therefore, you should discuss this matter with the Federal Reserve System. Yours faithfully, and then he, Secretariat of the Maintenance Agency, and believe it or not, did not leave a name. There was no name on this. So it was interesting that this actually came about, and it says monetary, that there's a couple of words or system things in here. Anybody that knows about the Federal Reserve System knows that it's a private bank, private organization owned by private individuals. And the monetary sovereignty to exercise legal control over the currency of a country or countries. Monetary sovereignty. Now, sovereignty alludes to monarchs. So with our other research that we've done, the Federal Reserve System is actually an extension of the Bank of Manhattan Island, which would be the Bank of New York, Mellon. And anybody that knows anything about Manhattan Island knows that that is connected to the Dutch king, King Edwin, which used to be Beatrix, his mother. So everyone thought they could go ahead and vote out the Federal Reserve System and want to take the Federal Reserve System down. But you're going to understand soon that everyone that's saying that they want to take the Federal Reserve System down and the higher ranks are literally working for the Dutch monarch. So it was an interesting letter that we got. Monetary sovereignty. That was the most telling one, or they call monetary authority, and we wanted to share that little tidbit with you. So Stu has done some research. I wanted to just bring up this one thing about this new DOJ, Department of Justice, officially praises the Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay, and all this is going to connect, guys, so just please be patient, and we will connect this to this presentation. Let me go ahead and present to everyone. Okay, everybody should be able to see that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, here we have back in the day where it says ADL and SPLC dumped from the FBI website finally. Okay, and if you go on, you know, this was around March 30th of last year. If you go on the internet, you can find this where it says ADL and SPLC was dumped, and they were the Anti-Defamation League and Southern Poverty Law Center get dumped from the FBI hate crime website. And the reason why they got dumped is because they were considered a hate group. They were one of the worst. Okay,
So
and
that's a hate.
then
I'm
huh?
sorry. To clarify, that's a hate group label put on the Southern Poverty Law Center, who purportedly reports on hate groups. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, it falls in line with takes one to know one,
Right.
if you know what I mean. So SPLC has been also known to smear the citizen journalists who are exposing the Planned Parenthood sale of baby body parts as extremists. So the citizen journalists that exposed this thing, the a Planned Parenthood deal, Southern Poverty Law Center goes with them, and it says no. They go with Planned Parenthood, and they just call them extremists. So we know that it's a smear campaign organization. We all know that. And then a year later, DOJ officially praises the Southern Poverty Law Center's work on combating domestic terrorism. Okay, so if John Carlin, Department of Justice Assistant Attorney General for National Security, announced on Wednesday that DOJ is creating a new position of Domestic Terrorism Counsel to combat the real and present threat of domestic extremism. Carlin praised groups such as the Southern Poverty Law Center that dedicate themselves to examining what the threat is, observing it, and reporting on it. Adding to the work of the SPLC was very important. Okay, so they're trying to bring the um, the reputation of SPLC up to a certain standard, which does not help DOJ at all. So we've got this right here, and by the way, SPLC, is in violation of a bunch of human rights. They have a bunch of human rights violations on them and all that. And then what does DOJ do? They go and and join with them. But who's behind all this? And this is where Stu can come in. He's done some research on this to show everyone who's really behind it and what's going on and how big this actually gets. So take it away, Stu.
Okay, thank you. Let's jump into an individual by the name of George Soros. I'll screen share here, and I'll be putting up some screenshots, so bear with me as I manipulate the Windows Explorer. Okay, we should have George Soros showing up momentarily. Do you have him?
Yeah, it's there. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is George Soros on the left of that banner picture. And I only bring this up to show you a little quick biography. He is a Hungarian Jew, if you follow my mouse. First sentence, Soros was born in Budapest, 1930. His given name was Giorgio Schwartz. No R in there, Schwartz. So he did a name change to Soros. If you read this article, you'll see.
Okay, stop for a second. So,
Yep.
John, isn't that a Dutch name, Schwartz?
Yes, it is. It's Dutch all the way.
Schwartz.
So he's calling himself an Hungarian Jew, but literally he's Dutch, or has a Dutch name. Let's put it that way.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Born in Budapest, 1930. And there's not much more I want to show you in this article other than you'll note that there's some references to associations with George Bush Jr. in the 90s. He's got Rothschild associations. He plays around with international finance and international weapons dealers, things of that nature. Okay, so he's a big wig. with a lot of bucks, billions of dollars. The interesting thing that I want to press home here is that he's kind of dastardly. He, as a 14-year-old, this is George Soros, bankster, Nazi collaborator, and psychopath. Explosive headline aside, this is a transcript from a 60 Minutes show that aired in '98, where he confessed, that is, George Soros actually admitted to turning in Jews as a 14-year-old during World War II. He would turn in families to the Nazis, and he would assist in confiscating property. And if I scroll down there, I don't want to point anything particular out in the conversation, but as you can see, it's the actual conversation from the 60 Minutes. And you see the bold entries here. Yes, I was 14. You know, it was affected my character. Things like that. So it did actually occur. It's not a fairy tale story to demonize the guy. He actually perpetrated those acts. So what's he do now? And that's probably more important than what he did in the past. Right now, because he's got billions, what he does is he funds through, and if you read the headline here, organizations funded by George Soros and his Open Society Institute. He basically establishes nonprofits and then funds them. And his particular expertise is going into a country and founding nonprofits that are counter to the moral fabric of the country that he selects. And he creates chaos, destabilizes the society, etc. So we'll just scroll down here slowly, and you can see that there's an awful lot that he funds directly. These are the A's: America this, America that, America Bar Association. You see that there. Going to jump quickly to the I's because he's a big supporter. This is Soros, is a big supporter of open borders. And we see that play itself out when we get to the I's and immigration. And here we are. Immigration Defense Project, Immigration Legal Resource Center, Immigrant Worker Citizen Project, Immigration Advocates Network, Immigration Policy Center. He funds all these organizations. And if you read a little, handful of these write-ups, this group claims to have helped gain amnesty for some 3 million illegal aliens in the U.S. Illegal aliens, okay? So he's funding immigrant legal resources to get illegal aliens off the hook, okay? Immigrant Worker Citizen Project, open borders organization that advocates mass immigration to the U.S., okay?
Stu?
Yep.
Aren't these the same organization that lobby Congress up there to write statutes to allow all this stuff to happen?
I would think that that's exactly what they are. Yeah, they're they put out their little studies. They put out their little intellectual papers with the help of the big bucks that Soros provides, and they lobby. Absolutely. Okay.
Well, also keep in mind that when they say they put out their studies, what they do is they go into a room and type out what they want the study to come out to be, and that's it. It's just a script.
Yeah.
So there's no actual real study going on.
Correct.
They might have a phone call, but it might be to home to say I'll be home late.
Yeah. Their policy.
their policy papers. Yeah.
Right. Their policy papers. Okay. So anyway, we've got an individual here that what he does in his world monopoly game is fund these nonprofits that lobby and issue policy papers to change the course, direction, and social fabric of any given country. And he's targeted, I don't have the information for you rock solid to pull up on screen, but he's targeted other countries in the past. And America is now where he's got his sights set. Okay. So the organization affiliation, I have a couple other things here. Here's reference to George Soros tied with the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, and you wonder why the Muslim Brotherhood is in the mass media consistently. Well, this is one of the reasons. Okay, and as you can see, George Soros and the Muslim Brotherhood, right? So he's affiliated with them. I've got another affiliation that I found. Coming up here. You would think that it's no big deal. That okay, he's
you might want to close some of your windows, just let you know.
okay.
Just so you don't freeze up there.
Right. So you would think that that's not a big deal. That okay, so he funds these nonprofits, and that's not against the law, etc. Well, the problem is that we believe that he does break the law, and he breaks the law regularly, which is why he never runs out of money. Here's an article: RICO lawsuit filed against George Soros and Donald Trump. This is from 2012. Okay, RICO is, of course, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act. Okay, hopefully that's arrived on the screen by now. And
yeah, you're going along just fine. Keep going.
Yep. When we scroll down, I'm going to hit a couple paragraphs out of this. This is basically a synopsis of the lawsuit, and I want to read just a couple paragraphs to the audience here. Here's one of them. Okay. Upon information, it's about halfway through the screen on the screen here. Upon information and belief, George Soros is the chairman of Soros Fund Management, a private investment management firm that serves as a principal advisor to the Quantum Group of funds based in the tax-free Caribbean country of Curaçao, a Caribbean tax haven and a possession of the Netherlands Antilles.
Antilles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Antilles. The Netherlands Antilles. We'll return to that in a moment. Okay. And then I'm going to slide back up. Oh no, I'm going to slide down. I'm sorry. And then paragraph 179. According to the BBC, Soros was found guilty of felony criminal insider trading in France on February 29, 2002, and from profiting from inside knowledge in 98 in a takeover of a French bank, yada, yada, yada. The felony conviction was upheld by a French court of appeals. Okay, so he's not necessarily a law-abiding citizen as he attempts to try to change the fabric.
Oh, well, did you see that one part? It says upon information and belief. Hold on one second. The Netherlands Antilles. Oh, man, keep moving it. Netherlands Antilles have repeatedly been cited
Yep.
by the Task Force on Money Laundering of the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development as one of the world's most important centers for laundering illegal proceeds of Latin American cocaine and other drug traffic.
Right. That's very good eyes. That's what I was going to jump into next. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you were going to hit that. I was like, I didn't want to miss that.
Yep.
I'll bring that up.
The funny thing about this is it all coincides with the loans too from that master that trust there. What's it called again?
The Proteum?
Proteum, yeah, Proteum Master Grantor Trust. Yeah, that one right there, because it goes back to the Cayman Islands as well. Same thing. Netherlands, Cayman Islands. Seems to keep popping up.
Mm-hmm. So what you've got here is a acknowledgement that the parts of the Caribbean islands are used for global money laundering, and that Soros is involved in that. Okay, if you go to in the Netherlands, and what's it called again? Netherlands Antilles?
Antilles, as far as I understand. I might be completely wrong, but I believe that's what I've heard.
That's okay, because it's also, we'll pull this up on Wikipedia, and you can see that there's a write-up, and it's a Netherlands thing. Over here on the right, in the first couple sentences. You see Caribbean Netherlands. Okay, so it still exists. What they did was they got rid of this Netherlands Antilles label. I guess, I'm assuming, because of the bad press, and they disbanded it, and they went into this Caribbean Netherlands as a kind of a new label. But they use U.S. Dollars, and it's still in existence. And if we click that link, we get Caribbean Netherlands, and over on you see the map over here on the right. Right, we've got the coat of arms, and then it's just a few select islands, right? But it happens to be a money laundering center, okay, used by Soros and no doubt other people. We just happen to be talking about Soros at this point. So that ties George Soros into criminal activity, and the criminal activity into the Netherlands. And then one final.
So he's basically, George Soros is basically nothing more than a international criminal.
In my opinion.
Essentially, that's what it's looking like here.
Yes, in my opinion, yeah, I think that's pretty.
Otherwise,
accurate.
Russia wouldn't have a warrant out for him, right?
Exactly. I was going to say you could confirm that with by Googling Putin issues a warrant for Soros. So he's got an international warrant out. Plus, you saw the paragraph that I read. France found him guilty, although he hasn't been put under arrest. They found him guilty.
And here's the U.S. harboring him. Isn't that typical?
Yeah. Well, more specifically, right? You can even say more specifically, he's in New York. So he's in Manhattan Island.
He's right there in Manhattan Island with the Dutch, under the Dutch king. Same guy, same people, going around and around in the same circles.
Yeah. So we've got criminal activity. We've got him tied to the Muslim Brotherhood. We've got him tied to open border policies. Promoting waves of immigration to the U.S. And then the final link that I want to bring here brings it all back to where we started, which is Soros being involved.
Just to remind you might want to close some of those windows just so you don't get frozen up there.
And then to bring it full circle, where Keith left off, we've got Soros-supported Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay, so he funds this project also, and I'll read you a key paragraph here. Second paragraph: the SPLC is a slime machine that has also targeted the Eagle Forum, the Heritage Foundation, Rush Limbaugh, Lou Dobbs, Rep. Michelle Bachmann, Rep. Stephen King, and Senator Rand Paul. Okay, so he's about making change, clearly. One more paragraph in this that I thought was worthy of reading, and if I can find it here.
Yeah, and if you want to know more while you're scrolling, if you want to know more about the Southern Poverty Law Center, John Birch Society has a tape out, and it's about 45 minutes long, and they go into great detail about the history and who they emulate, who happens to be a guy that loves to blow up federal buildings. So the same people today are emulating somebody who blew up federal buildings in the 60s and 70s, are now looking for people that blow up federal buildings. Or accusing people that they're violent and dangerous and all that.
Yeah, I can't find. Apparently, that paragraph was in another page. So anyway, we brought George Soros from turning in his neighbors, community members, to the Nazis and confiscating their property, to effectively changing countries by attacking the internal fabric of their morals and social views, and established him as an international criminal. tied him to mass immigration to the U.S., tied him to the Muslim Brotherhood, and tied him to the Southern Poverty Law Center, who has now affiliated itself with the Department of Justice to go after U.S. citizens, I assume, with unrelenting zeal.
Right. Okay. So let's. You just hit something there for a second. I just wanted to bring it out. So you have. Okay. Let's go think the way the U.S. citizens think. They think that they have a sovereign government under a constitution and a Bill of Rights. They're a federal sovereign government. In reality, if that were the case, okay, you have the Department of Justice that's working on behalf of George, or is that his name, George Soros?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, who happens to be working for a foreign monarch. So if you go back and look at that Constitution again, you have the Department of Justice working for the King of the Netherlands. Isn't that treason? I mean, I'm, correct me if I'm wrong. That's treason, isn't it?
Oh, that's definitely treason.
Yes.
According to the book, I mean, according to their Constitution part, it's treason there. You can't. I don't believe you can do that. Would you?
According to their own writing, I believe they are committing treason. They're treasonous to their own constitution.
Right. So you have SPLC, who is essentially saying that they're protecting the United States against domestic terrorists, but yet they're the ones that are working for a foreign monarch, the King Edwin, against the United States. But am I right on that? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here.
Well, they're
It's
protecting
shaping up to look.
they're protecting the United States against terrorists, but the terrorists are the people that are doing the protecting. Soros and all the rest of them are the ones that are actually terrorizing America.
It's not just the U.S. though; it's also going into Canada as well. Now that he's left the FBI.
That's the reason I said the America. That covers your whole continent.
Right. So you have a Department of Justice for the U.S. Okay, that's the U.S. city-state, by the way, who is wholeheartedly using constitutional authority and at the same time working for a foreign monarch.
That dog going on.
Makes no sense to me, guys.
Yeah, the foreign monarch, they created Constitution in the beginning.
So now you have Southern Poverty Law Center that's able to work freely and funded to a quarter billion, by the way, who is able to work freely within the United States to bash people in the United States.
Right, and let's not forget that although I read that paragraph and it talks about they attack Rush Limbaugh, Lou Dobbs, Michelle Bachmann, representatives, things like that, one of their primary targets, of course, is the sovereign citizen. It's basically the man on the street, and they pound, and they pound, convincing law enforcement to jump in their patrol car to start a shift, ready to pull the trigger, because everybody from their perspective is ready to pull out a machine gun. So this is not a good situation in my opinion. The teaming up with the Department of Justice, not good.
In my opinion, it's inciting.
Right.
I think they're inciting right now, and they know that SPLC does not have a good reputation, and they're doing it anyways. And so you have the Federal Reserve that's under the King of the Netherlands. You have the Bank of New York Mellon under the King of the Netherlands. You have Manhattan Island under the King of the Netherlands. You have George Soros under the King of the Netherlands. You have Southern Poverty Law Center under the King of the Netherlands, being funded by the King of the Netherlands. And you have money laundering and the Proteum Grantor Master Trust down in the Cayman Islands that's bundling mortgages under the King of the Netherlands. And then you have the Caribbean Antilles, which is the Dutch Antilles, running drugs and money laundering down there on those islands under the King of the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
And we're in a free country.
I'm sure there's fine detail. You know, the web is probably pretty intricate, but for what we've covered, yeah, no, you covered it.
Okay. So let's get back to the letter there. They're saying the sovereign authority. They always like to use that. It's called an authority that has a monetary sovereignty. You might want to go look at the Federal Reserve. You know, they come up with that, right? Well, who runs the Federal Reserve? The King of the Netherlands, who's been ripping people off for years in their equity, who got rid of the equity courts in 1946. Who did all this, guys? It all goes back to the same guy.
Are kings and monarchs the only people that they consider that hold sovereignty?
So that means if it's not treason, okay, if DOJ is actually working for the King of the Netherlands and they don't consider it treason, then who actually owns the U.S. and the U.S. Constitution?
Right. Exactly. Who's running the show here? Really?
It's the same people, same monarch, same everything. I'll bet you any amount of money that one day the news will come out and we will be able to connect Syria invasion to the Netherlands. We're going to be able to connect Iraq. We don't have it yet, but Iraq and the whole Iran thing to the Netherlands. The mass immigration to the Netherlands.
You know, you can tie it to it because the U.S. is went over there and invaded and have taken their resources and enslaving their people the same as they have everybody else's. Under the name of the U.S., but in actuality, in the King of the Netherlands court.
Now, where's the main world court?
Exactly. I was just going to say. Yeah, I was just going to say, since we're throwing darts at the Dutch, we might as well bring up the world courts.
That's
right? So what have they done? They've constructed this huge, elaborate show in front of the entire world, saying we're legit, we're tiny, we're legit. Look, we'll host the courts, and you know we're neutral, and yet they're the ones that are, you know, funding everything.
Where is their so-called human rights court? It's also in the Netherlands, and it's also controlled by the Dutch.
The same people that are money laundering and running drugs down in southern South America.
That's true.
Yep.
So there you go. And the one interesting part, though, is the individual that did write this letter from ISO did not sign it.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that until you mentioned it.
That keeps coming back because I realized then when I kept looking at it again, it was never signed. They never signed a thing, and they knew. Well, that was a help. That was help to us. That was to let us know here's where your problem is. So everybody that's mad at the Federal Reserve, well, it belongs to the king. Anybody that's mad at what's going on as far as being attacked and everything, that's who's doing it. You just gotta do the connecting the dots all the way back to the Dutch king. Why this Dutch king is attacking this country, I have a good idea. It's because this country believes in law, and they believe in what's right and wrong, regardless of how corrupt it seems to be at the moment. Still, the grassroots people still believe in what's right and wrong. And I think the Dutch king I think the Dutch have been doing this for a very long time, all the way back to the second. You mentioned Soros, okay, when he turned in the Jews to the Nazis, right?
Correct.
Well, we had a story just not 6 months or a year ago that mentioned that the Dutch did the same thing. They surrendered in one day to the Nazis and then started handing over all the Jews.
The Dutch did?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a newspaper clipping on it.
They surrendered in one day.
They
Yeah, well, there you
surrendered
go.
in one day.
Exactly. That's that falls right into what we've been brainstorming about. They're
Right.
I'll show. Yeah.
And then they the General Post Office gets emails from them every month. Their newsletter from The Hague, and they talk about the peaceful city and all this other stuff, and it's all just fluff. There's nothing really going on that they put in the that they put in the newspaper. But my guess is we could probably connect the Dutch to this nightmare that people are going through with this NWO, because we obviously connected them to the Manhattan Island and connected it to the banks.
Yep. And if the American people weren't law-abiding, why are they protesting everything happening to them?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I
And
think
and
that
and you know, the people in the towns and stuff like that, even city folks and everything, are generally nice. If I were to start in, say, Florida and hitchhike to California, I would have a place to stay and something to eat probably every night, because
right,
somebody will pick you up and feed you.
right. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. I believe that America is completely different on the people community level than it is on the publicity government U.S. Inc. level. Um, and I think that's a problem from them. That's why they can't get the gun control initiatives off the ground. They're never going to get the guns. They're going to try. They're going to try. They're never going to get it. But the property. Basically they're asset stripping us. Every day, and we're getting weaker and weaker. We have to admit those types of things. So, we got to bring some of this stuff publicly so people know who to look to try to correct things.
Yeah, so they're not just going after Southern Poverty Law Center. You got to go after who's behind it.
Yeah.
And not necessarily go after them as far as, hey, we're coming to attack you. You have to go find out who's behind all this and find out who they are, and know exactly what they're up to.
Right. And one thing I want to mention that I neglected to mention when I was talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center and George Soros funding them, remember also that the funding concept works with individuals. So people you see on TV news are the same thing. They're funded, their salaries are paid for them to spit out the rubbish that they spit out. They're given those speeches, they're given those political postures to communicate to the cameras. So, it's important to realize that it's not just, organized nonprofits. It actually can boil down to individuals that are also on payrolls. Like
Exactly.
this gentleman here. I mean, I don't know who he is, Mark Potic. He's of the Southern Poverty Law Center. But he walks away from them. He could remain on somebody's payroll and still
Right.
communicate the same things.
Okay. Well, this comes to a point where we need to say goodbye today. So this was the important message to the public. Does anybody have anything to add before we go ahead and stop the broadcast?
Yes, sir. I have one more thing I'd like to add. I'd like to invite any and everybody out there that has a computer or any way to do it to research what we're trying to research and present to you today. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm good.
Once, twice, three times. Okay, we're good to go. I hope you enjoyed this particular broadcast, and we will talk to you next time. Thank you for joining us.